The 500 one here was with Levy. We did that offline, so no rake. I already paid him, and he's already purchased Bitcoin with it. Had 200, I lost. And then I had 4 100s, and I only won one of those against Ryan Hodge. Sorry, Hodge. You're the only 109 that I won. And then in the cheapies, $50 and below, I did well. I won at all of those levels. So my total entries, 4,823. Winnings, 5,714. $891 profit. 18.47 ROI. We won 74.61% of our head-to-heads. That is how you do it. That is how you feel alive. 74.6%, an 18.47 ROI. This is how I feed my family now. The cash game king, just grinding it out. The spreadsheet grinder. Can we go back to GPPs right when I'm getting the hang of this cash game thing? If I just didn't have an ego about accepting these 100s, Siler is the Deposit Kingdom moderator and creator, and he sent me a 109 and dusted me. This for sure was the big differentiator. Way more Marvin Jones at the high end. He was the sharp play. He was the math play. And I didn't have him. And I'll talk about the specific lineups, but that was the big difference there. And as far as I ended up making swaps in most of these 100, 200, and 500 because I didn't have Marv, and most of them had both Kirk and Marv, and a lot of them had Kirk, Marv, and Justin Jefferson. So I ended up doing some swaps to get off of Henry. Obviously, the swap should have been off of Devontae Adams, but it was really hard to know if your opponents had Henry or Adams. The reason I mainly swapped off of Henry is because the teams that had Justin Jefferson and Marv, I figured they weren't also playing Devontae Adams. It was hard to fit Adams and Justin Jefferson in unless you were really punting it off with 2 cheap running backs. So yeah, we can look at this. I will show the shell. This was the main team that I had, 189.9 points. Kirk Cousins, Derrick Henry, Ty Montgomery, Devontae Adams, Laviska Shenault, Richie James, Evan Ingram, Jonathan Taylor, Browns D. I was locked into this, I would say, probably like the last 48 hours. Obviously, the big kind of decision that would have really been a smash is if I made the 2v2 off of Shenault and Ingram to Parham and Marvin Jones. And I wanted to play optimally. I had a lot of money in play relative to my bankroll, and I couldn't galaxy brain. I couldn't get bogged down in bits, but I always knew I was going to play Laviska Shenault. Like I knew there was maybe a slightly better construction, the one I was just saying there with the 2v2, but I was never not playing Laviska Shenault. I do think if I didn't have a bias for Shenault, I do make that 2v2 to Parham and Marvin Jones. And it was weird because when you were looking at optimals, you saw a lot of Laviska, you saw a lot of Ingram, you saw a lot of Marvin Jones in virtually every optimal, but you didn't see any Parham. And this was one of those things where I just didn't quite have the finesse, the feel for it to feel comfortable. I just felt more comfortable based on the math of getting Evan Ingram in there. That ended up being a mistake. I do really think if I didn't have the bias on Shenault, I probably make that 2v2 and get to Marv. He was in every optimal. He was a good play. And then I ended up having to make some swaps where I was really behind. So the swap I ended up doing, and I can show this one. This was against Siler here. So this one I did swap where he did have Lamar Jackson, but he also had Marvin Jones here. And I felt like I knew he had Henry. I figured he had Adams. So I ended up doing a Henry, Richie James, and Chenault swap to Chris Carson, AJ Brown, and Keelan Cole. I did a 3v3 there. This one ended up backfiring on me. This is the one swap I shouldn't have done, because you see my main lineup had 189.9. Would have beat Seiler there, 185.62. And this was a mistake for two reasons, not just in hindsight, but this was a mistake because I didn't swap against any other Lamar Jackson team. I thought him failing at 8,000 there was pretty good for me. And I legit can't remember my exact reason on why I decided to swap on this one. I was out over my skis with kind of handling the swap situations. One, the pure volume of swaps I had to do. You know, how many head-to-heads was I in? 256 head-to-heads. I was really only focusing on the ones for swaps that were 50 and above. So I was tabbing through those. I have new information coming in as my 1 p.m. guys are playing, you know, seeing if Kirk can get another touchdown. And then on top of that, almost my entire team, 6 of my guys were still yet to go. So I had a hard time feeling out how aggressive I should be and how far behind I was to Marvin Jones teams. Because the thing that was tough is Kirk Cousins smashed. And I think if it was just Cousins and Marvin Jones, I probably let more of these ride. But it was my Evan Ingram 3.7 points. And, you know, the Browns D did nothing either. That I felt like, okay, if I'm duped on like a lot of these guys like I was, when we look at Seiler's lineup here, Adams, Henry, Chenault, and I knew he had a cheap tight end that could easily pass Ingram here, I felt like I had to get aggressive in this one. So we had Ty Montgomery. So if I don't swap, I'm playing like a really bad 2v2 versus Seiler there. So I felt, even though this one ended up not working out, Jonathan Taylor being the huge differentiator here, I still think it was right to swap, considering that 2v2 we were playing. What's going on in the chat? Pete, what's the required ROI for the Cash Game King to get on the team? Apparently higher than this. Apparently. No, wait. I did get on the team last night. I forgot. Apparently the required 18.47. I had drank a lot, okay? 18.47 is the required ROI to get on the team. Matt, what? I didn't swap all of mine. I couldn't get through to all of I think down to $50 were the ones I got through. I just didn't have enough time. Secret cash game combos in the Discord. Submit applications now. I know I didn't even check in on the Discord. I was very busy this week. I should have gone in there and seen what you guys were up to. Conspiring to take the Cash Game King down. Hindsight, you played the best RBs, Henry, Taylor, and Madison, and run it back with each wide receiver one on the other side, Cook, Chenault, and Marvin. Sounds like you're a GPP bro, Aaron. That's what the GPP bros did. I mean, do you know how guilty I felt accidentally having a mini correlation in my Cash Game lineup? This Laviska Shenault, Jonathan Taylor mini correlation? Oh, so gross. Just a GPP bro thing. I promise I didn't mean for it to be there. It was just the numbers. I wasn't trying to mini correlate in my Cash Game roster. I was never getting on Madison. I think Madison was fine. Is my mic getting, or I thought Madison was fine, but just once you wanted to get up to Adams, you needed to take advantage of the Ty Montgomery price point. I felt like to get up to Adams and to make sure you weren't taking multiple super low floor guys. Why is my camera all out of whack? There we go. So I couldn't get to Madison how I wanted to play it. Levitan in R500 here He ended up going down to Baker and Jets D to be able to get up to Marv, which obviously ended up working out great for him. He finishes with 208.24 smash score. I guess it's the reason why he's the true cash game king. I'm mad at myself for not doing that 2v2 of Shenault and Ingram to Parham and Marvin Jones. I am a little upset about that. My core, I knew I was always going to play Henry, Devontae Adams, Jonathan Taylor, and a 4K running back. Like, that was my true core. Those were my must plays. My want play was Laviska Shenault. So he was technically my fifth guy I was going to have. I didn't care about my punt wide receiver. I had fiddled with, I toyed around with even going to like Keyshawn Johnson or Andy Isabella or whatever. Ultimately, I didn't think it mattered that much down there at 3,100. Browns D was always locked in too. I was flexible on quarterback. Kirk was just the guy that I kept settling on. I didn't have enough to get up to Rodgers or Watson. I couldn't meaningfully upgrade anything else going down to someone I would have felt really gross about. I didn't feel comfortable with Baker. I didn't feel comfortable with Drew Lock ultimately. Both of those would have been fine if it got me up to Marvin Jones, but everything comes back to Shenault because I wasn't going to change him, and he would have been the place to upgrade. Earlier in the week, I had Gabriel Davis as one of my cheap wide receivers in here for a while. Ended up getting spooked off of that. But yeah, I ultimately didn't have too many decision points. I was considering Ty Johnson over Ty Montgomery. I really wanted to do that. I'm glad I didn't. I think I would have been sacrificing about 5 or 6 points there. And, I was talking to some people, talked to Leone. He pointed out to me the team total differences there for the Jets and the Saints were pretty drastic. Pretty hilarious that Montgomery only had 1 reception, but hits the 100-yard rushing bonus. Just like we all predicted. Anyone who, Davis and I had the same lineup. Saul Goodman, if you guys know him from Twitter, we had the same lineup. I think Dink had the same lineup. If you were playing Shenault, you were getting funneled to this construction. Because you were saving that 900 off of Marv, which gave you a little extra money to pay up at tight end. Richie James stood out as the best punt play wide receiver, I think, at 3,100 below. I know Cole came into my swap over here. He was 3,400. If you had the extra money, I think Cole was fine too. What do I like better, GPP or cash? So look, I legitimately, all bits aside, enjoyed Cash Week. I enjoyed it. But part of that was I was getting all kinds of head-to-heads. I was getting all kinds of good action. I don't know if I, one, could replicate that on a week-in, week-out basis. And two, I do miss GPPs, but I didn't miss GPPs for week 17. It truly more than usual seemed like a complete free-for-all, and it was actually freeing to just play the best plays in a week where chaos was going to ensue, which I know chaos ensues every week in the NFL, but this week more so than usual. So I think I said it on the Gilcast last night. I could see myself. The thing for me is, and I know Blender says like, oh, if you play GPPs, you can make a good cash lineup, yada, yada. I get that. I could make a cash lineup and still play GPPs, but I do like having a singular focus. I enjoy just focusing 100% on cash games this week, making the best possible lineup, because I think subconsciously, I find you start like hedging or thinking of things in suboptimal ways when you have more of a portfolio, where I'm like, okay, well, I am playing this guy. I'm playing Shenault in my cash lineup, so I don't have to play him in my GPPs. I'm not saying that's what everyone does. I'm just saying that's what I do. I mess up there. And so for me, it's just better to have a singular focus. So all that said, I do think I could see myself next year, like week 8, week 9, taking a halftime GPP break mid-season and doing another cash game week. Maybe I'll play cash for the preseason like Levitan does. I don't know. I'm intrigued. I enjoyed it. It's definitely a different speed. But it was fun. Essentially, you paid like $1K to play Visca. Thank you for putting it that way. Did I think Devontae was a lock over Jefferson with the savings? Yeah, I did. And I also, the thing is Jefferson was less about Devontae and it was more about Jonathan Taylor because they were more in that similar price range. I could have played Jefferson or I could have played Taylor, but I wanted Taylor no matter what. So once I wanted Adams and Taylor, there was just no room for me to get to Justin Jefferson. He just was never going to fit this kind of build structure. No, I'm not. See, this is the thing. I'm saying in my heart of hearts, if I didn't love Visca, I think I would have gotten up to Marv. But Visca was not a bad play. Like a lot of good cash game players played Visca. He was in all the optimals. Levitan had Visca. He just also happened to have Marv. And he had to get off Cousins to do it. But yeah, no, I don't actually have regrets about Visca. I was playing Visca. The math said I could play Visca. Yeah, I actually spent a lot of my crowns to accepting games. I had cleared the 100K crown mark. I mean, it was an incredibly emotional moment for me when I first passed 100,000 crowns, and then I spent them all accepting your head-to-heads. In the playoffs, we're going back to GPPs. GPP Pete is coming back. I'm not playing cash in the playoffs. Cash game Pete is not going to make a return for a little while. When do you plan on having flash draft week? Yeah, no, I got to check my content roadmap. I'm sure we'll get that on there. It's just 4 straight shows with David Kitchen. Sounds like a blast. Yeah, what is the deal with this? Or is it still up in the air if DraftKings is going to give us a 6-game wildcard slate? They better. I'm sure Levitan got on the team. 88% head-to-heads and a GPP win. Can you believe that? I called it on my show with him. I said I was going to win like 56% of my head-to-heads. I won 74.6. And I said he was going to win the baby power sweep. He won the juke. I mean, prophetic. It was so difficult, Eric. It was so difficult, but it actually wasn't. I'm not kidding. I did not look at ownership projections once. I did not. All the GPP content, all my bros, I listened to the Advanced Sports Analytics show. I listened to Dink and Leone on Establish the Millions. Didn't listen to any of that. Nothing. I turned in my GPP bro card this week. DK only has 3-game slates right now. Are you kidding me? This is disgusting. I got to call up Aguiar. I got to figure out what's going on with this. Officially 2 3-gamers. Can you explain why Marv was a good play? I considered due to volume, but figured Stafford would be out after the first sack. I mean, he was purely a math play. I mean, he had the one dud last week where I think he had 3 targets. And then in the previous 4 weeks, he had target totals of 12, 12, 12, and 8. I mean, he's been an absolute target usage monster with Golladay out. It was a good game environment. And the way he gets used deep down the field lends itself to super high ceiling scores, which, you know, as Levitan has talked about a lot, is, you know, accepting variance in your cash game lineups isn't a bad thing. You want to be able to access a ceiling. So when the math is giving you a guy like that at 5,100, he was a great play. He was a really, really good play. Yeah. Yep. The first show I did with Levitan, 4 years ago was the Mans. A lot of people like the Mans more than me. That's fair. I don't begrudge anyone that. Yeah, hopefully they get them up. Hopefully they get those contests up. I mean, yeah, I don't know. They want people to roll over their money quickly. Get in, get out. 3-game slates, more rake. More rake is better. Hashtag Daniel Negreanu. What else do I want to look at here? This was my head-to-head, my 1K head-to-head. This was versus Chris Neville. He's the CEO of Line Movement. And I think, yeah, I was a little worried early on when Gesicki had lapped up Ingram, but having Cousins there was very helpful. We duped on Henry and the big dog, but Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Taylor was definitely the differentiator of a guy who wasn't massively owned across all of my opponents. And it was just huge. Getting a 41 burger from a guy that a lot of your opponents didn't have was massive. You know, Chris's big thing here was getting up to Robbie Anderson instead of Marv, which I thought was fine too. I thought Robbie Anderson was a pretty good play at 5,600. I just wasn't getting funneled into that range with my build. Gesicki, maybe a little galaxy brain there at tight end. Thought it was fine to play the 2 cheap wide receivers, although I feel like if you play the 2 cheap wide receivers, you want to get up to Justin Jefferson as well, or the 2 cheap running backs. I thought Rodgers was one of the other better good cash game quarterback plays. Thought it was Cousins, Lamar, and Rodgers. So, you know, this is just classic cash game stuff. A little 2v2, a little 3v3 for all the monies. And how do we do in Pete's gigantic double up, which, the well actually guys have tried to tell me is not actually a double up, that it's a 50-50. Well, in my heart, it was a double up. And in my heart, this is a rake-free contest. And someday DraftKings will start looking out for us in the Pete's League on DK. So for now, we're just going to have to manifest that by calling it a double up. Who won the double up? Paul, my guy, Paul Bergeron won a double up with 239.2. I actually think he sent me a DM. Tell me you had this in a tournament, Paul. Tell me you had this in a tournament. Okay, he sent me the screenshot. Okay, Paul, he made a different lineup for his head-to-head, 196.2. Oh, Paul, I don't think you had this. The screenshot. Oh my goodness, Paul. Oh no. I think this was the only contest Paul had this at. Oh boy. Look at this team. Watson, Taylor, Montgomery. Lock it at 1% in the Bankroll Challenge double up. Wow. Look at this team. You know what, Paul? Don't beat yourself up. Don't think about the money you could have won if you threw this into other contests, because there is no contest that is more prestigious than Pete's gigantic double up contest in week 17, Paul. I know. The Joe Holka, he would get way too much. This would make Joe Holka want to curl up into the fetal position and cry for about a week. If this happened to him, he would never let this happen. No way. I was not doing this. People were asking me this. I was not putting it into a tournament. There was no way. There was no way. I have the opposite of FOMO with that stuff. Who else? Who else is up here? I recognize Lou Dog. Who wants me to review their double up lineup? Look at all these dupes. 208.24. What was this team? All the dupes. Oh, was this the Levy team? Yeah, this is the Levy team. Okay. So there's the dupes on the Levy team. Did anyone have mine? Who else had mine? Oh, yeah. Maddock, Sean Balmer. Oh, no, this one's a little different with Robbie. It just ended up with the same amount of points. More dupes. You got to love cash. Where are some dupes? Where is yours, Eric? Let's look at Eric's cash game lineup. Eric, this was supposed to be your week. You love playing the best plays, Eric. Let's see what you did here. Okay, you were on the Mayfield, 2 cheap running backs. Ooh, T.Y. Hilton, Eric. See, Eric's a Colts fan. And Aguilar. Look at this, Eric. Nate really wanted to play Calvin Ridley. If Nate had said on the Gilcast, if Malcolm Brown was still available and Akers wasn't playing, he would have played 2 of the cheap running backs and played both Ridley and Adams. I thought Noah Fant was a good play. If you had the money, get the big dog in there. I mean, Aguilar's coming off that big game. I mean, you're there, Eric, if you have Marvin Jones in this range. Like if you split these two, I don't know if the math would work out. Would you have been able to get? You probably wouldn't have been able to get up to Justin Jefferson. I would say these are off the board for cash games. But who am I? I'm just an interloper. I didn't consider him very strongly. I was looking at him for for a late swap. The other late swap I was considering was if I knew my opponent had didn't have Henry but had Adams. I was thinking about late swapping Richie James and Devontae Adams to Mike Williams and DK Metcalf. That swap fit, and so I thought that was good, but he was never a guy that I was considering in my shell. Because if I thought Marvin Jones was a better play than Mike Williams, so if I was getting up to that range, I was going to play Marvin Jones. But I mean, Mike Williams, I think, projected for really good target volume. I also think if you wanted access to the Chargers in cash, that Parham was definitely the way to go. Yeah, Reynolds was a guy I was looking at earlier in the week. He was in the Blitz Optimals for a lot of the week. I know Cardi liked him. Ultimately ended up kind of liking Richie James more there. Dude, you crushed me in head-to-head, and I finished 130th in the Bankroll Challenge. Rich Wheezy, I'm done with cash and literally running back to GPPs. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of Cash Game Week. You know, we can just do it for a week, and then we can go back to being GPP bros. Did I consider Malcolm Brown? I assume you mean Malcolm Brown and not Marquise Brown. Yeah, I considered him until the Akers news. Once it sounded like Akers was going to suit up, there was no way. But in that late slate, I think if it was more up in the air, or if he was a true game time decision or more on the doubtful side, I think I would have tried to have maybe left a little money to get up from Montgomery to Malcolm Brown. I think he would have been the best play of those 4K running backs if Akers didn't play. But the news ended up being pretty clear that Akers was going to play. Best ball season is coming, guys. It is coming. We have, so as far as what we're doing, over on Ship Chasing this week, we're going to do a lot of FFPC playoff challenge content. So for those of you guys who haven't played, you set one lineup and talk about dupes because everyone can make the same lineup. It's not like a draft or anything. You just you pick one player from each team in the playoffs and you let it ride best ball style for the playoffs. So we'll be doing content on that. Pat normally does ownership projections for that. And then we get a good feel for where the good leverage points are. So yeah, we'll be doing a lot of playoff challenge content over on Ship Chasing. I think I think this is my last RotoGrinders show. Not forever, but just for this season. But I'm going to continue to keep doing the Friday show, a build show, and a review for the playoffs. Why not, right? we got to play some of these slates, specifically if they have a 6-game slate. So I'll get a guess for Friday. So we'll keep those rolling through the playoffs. We'll do showdown for the Super Bowl for sure. And then best ball season. I am going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to take a break. I don't know when and how, sometime in February and March. And then we will be back for best ball season. So yeah, if you guys are watching on RotoGrinders, I will continue to do these on my YouTube channel throughout the playoffs. We definitely appreciate RotoGrinders hosting us this year, the Bankroll Challenge. They have been very good to the Bankroll Challenge. Appreciate them having us for this season. My first ever profitable season. I'm going to wait to do my full final accounting from the season until playoffs are done. You know, the regular season ended up with $1,000 profit in the single entry Bankroll Challenge. But I think I'm going to do a show at the end of the NFL season. I'll do the Roto Tracker show, pull up all my results, and see how it went, see if we can spot any trends, anything that I should continue to focus on. I mean, you can see just in a microcosm here how important it is to get granular with these results. I mean, not shocking that I did the worst at the most competitive buy-in levels here in the 100 to 500. That's game selection. Could have had a smash week if I didn't accept these games. If I didn't challenge the head-to-head in boss Adam Levitan, I could have had a great week, an even better week. But that's how it goes. How many lineups will I make for the NFL playoffs? I'm not sure. If they have the 6-game slate, I think I'll definitely make a spy team and maybe a couple other teams to toss in single entries. And then I'm sure with the tilt space, we'll make a couple teams. So if we get a 6-game slate, I'd say I make somewhere between 4 and 5 teams, 2 to 3 on my own, and then 2 to 3 with the tilt space. Save yourself some time and play a 1K double up. Yeah, I ended up not playing a ton of double ups. I tossed it into a few, 185. I cashed all my double ups though, which was nice. But ultimately I enjoyed just getting head to heads. It was fun. It was fun to do head to heads against everybody as opposed to just a nameless mass of entries in a double up. I'm a competitor, guys. I'm a competitor. I like looking right into my opponent's username. So yeah, this was cash game week, guys. This was cash game week. Thanks, Kip. Really makes me wish I started a spreadsheet for this year. We'll be on it next year. Yeah, some people had asked me, I did make a dummy spreadsheet thing. I mean, again, this is a very rudimentary spreadsheet. I tried to make it look pretty with the conditional formatting. If you're in the Discord, I think Siler pinned this in the Discord, but I made a Google Sheet that you can download if you want to use it like this. I think it's a good exercise. It plays it. I'm a little OCD with stuff too, so it helps me stay organized. But on top of it, I think it's good to go back and look at your results. You know, for GPP specifically, looking at my top finishes in the top 5%. You know, we talk about those shots on goals. You know, I think this is helpful to see, okay, had a 0.3 here, a 6% here, a 2% here. You know, if I was scanning through this and they were all, 40%, 50%, then I start to worry, okay, am I actually giving myself a chance to win these tournaments? But when I look through these percentages and my finishes in the top 10%, I really think I was giving myself a lot of chances to win tournaments. So, I mean, just a light and day, better year than I had last year. I was a disaster. And I'll talk more about it when I do kind of my final review of the season and look at my finances and how the year went. So yeah, Eric in the chat has a link to the Discord. You guys can hop in there. I also have it in the show notes. There's a direct link in the show notes down below if you'd like to join. It's a very, very cool community. Lots of good conversations going in there. I think you would enjoy it. So, all right, guys. Yeah, smash it. Smash the like button. Smash it. Just absolutely obliterate the hell out of the like button. subscribe. If you want to go back, I also have in the show notes everything from Cash Game Week. If you didn't see my show with Levitan, I think you'd enjoy it. It was a very enjoyable show. I didn't get, I wasn't able to pry his cash game shell out. Although towards the end, I got him to break a little bit. Got him to start talking about Richie James and Donald Parham, but very fun show. Even the show with Cardi, we were week 17 specific, but some good cash game evergreen advice there. And then if you missed it, go check out Blender's Q&A from Saturday night. If you missed that, I'm still exhausted from that Q&A. And I also need to continue to clean up. I made such a mess doing that. Can you put a link for that spreadsheet? Yeah, that's it. That's going to be in the Discord. We'll get the spreadsheet in the Discord. So hop in the Discord if you want the spreadsheet. Yeah, Nick, I need to go back and see some of the chat. I mean, I looked at the chat during that for maybe only 2 or 3 times. I couldn't keep track with the chat, but I need to go back and lap up the people who were triggered. All right, guys, this is it for Cash Game Week. Like I said, I will be back on Friday. I'll get a guest. I want to get Eric Beimfor back to talk about short slates. He does lots of good stuff over at RotoGrinders with that. So we'll do that. And yeah, like I said, if you've been watching on RotoGrinders and you want to continue to see these shows, you can head over to my YouTube channel. Otherwise, thank you to RotoGrinders. Thank you, you guys, for hanging out on Monday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Eastern as we pick up the pieces from the week before. Always enjoy chatting with you guys, all that good stuff. So yeah, enjoy a low-key week here. We'll get ready for playoff season. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday.